Hello and welcome to the LMI podcast. In this episode we begin a new series in which we'll be thinking about contemporary issues that influence the task of being on mission for Jesus in today's world. So we'll be focusing on different issues over several podcast episodes, and in each one we're going to ask a number of questions. As we pick up a particular issue, we're going to ask, what do we mean when we talk about this issue? How is this issue impacting people's lives around the world today? How does it influence our task of being on mission for Jesus? So to begin this new series, today we're thinking about globalization. What is it? What does it mean for people's lives? How does it affect the task of mission? Defining globalization is tricky as it's a complex phenomenon, and definitions can be offered from a number of different perspectives. Now that said, here are some thoughts that might help us.
Taken as a whole, globalization is a trend of accelerating, compressed interaction between peoples, cultures, governments, and transnational companies. It is a heightened, multi-directional flow of ideas, material goods, symbols, and power, facilitated by the internet and other communication, technologies, and travel.
Globalisation is a Nike trainer on every foot, a golden arch in every town, a Madonna on every magazine cover, a sweatshop in every alley, a Coke on every table, a big dam on every river, a cloud of pollution on every landscape, and structural adjustment in the speech of every government leader. Globalisation is an assembly line circling the world.
Now there's lots to think about in these statements, isn't there? But they do illustrate the many influences that stem from this phenomenon called globalization. We might think of a growing interconnectedness among peoples of the world through information technology, trade, economics, and cultural influence. Globalization is having a massive impact upon people's lives around the world in both negative and positive ways. Now, we could spend countless podcast episodes exploring these things, but we want to confine our interest here to briefly think about the impact of globalization upon the task of making disciples among the peoples of the world. The media and information technology, including social media, is really the most prominent vehicle for delivering the forces of globalization in the 21st century and its related impact upon people's everyday lives. The great connectedness that stems from the World Wide Web of the internet, the access and availability of information and content that flows across mobile communication networks, these mediums continue to provide people from diverse backgrounds and cultural traditions with opportunities for shared experiences. The end result is a cultural blend that many see as being most heavily influenced by Western popular consumerist culture. So what has all this got to do with mission? Well, from a communication standpoint, there are lots of wonderful creative ways for people to share the gospel around the world today. Digital or technological strategies for sharing the gospel have flourished in this era. From radio broadcasts to internet sites, satellite television programs to mobile apps, the rapid and global reach of communication networks provide many communication options. As a result of globalization and the introduction of cultural influence, people's lives change. People's preferences, cultural tastes, aspirations, and expectations can all be impacted. Sometimes this means a move away from what was traditionally favoured in a given culture to embrace something new. At other times, there may be a push back against the influence of globalization. As people fear the erosion of long-cherished values and ideas, they cling to traditional culture in response. People are different, responding and reacting in different ways. Even in one city, many different subcultures can be found, illustrating a range of different responses to the impact of globalization. And these responses aren't fixed, but given to change with cultural and social trends. Now, as we recognise this, it becomes vital that we consider how we are going to share the gospel with others. Given the varied response to globalisation from different groups in society, no single preferred style or method of communication can be thought of as being suitable for everyone. For example, if one group is rejecting traditional beliefs and values to embrace new ideas and cultural influences, all as a result of globalisation, then it may not be the best idea to communicate with that group along the traditional lines that they have rejected. The opposite may be true for a group in society who fear the erosion of their traditional cultural values in the face of globalisation. To effectively engage that group, an approach that considers their traditional values may well prove effective. It's clear that globalisation is complex, and it is influencing social contexts in different ways. To be on mission for Jesus effectively, we must have an awareness of our social and cultural surroundings. We must get to know those whom we are seeking to reach with the gospel. That means building authentic relationships, friendships, and bonds with people where we can share our lives together, so that we can share the gospel in appropriate ways, being faithful to the unchanging message of Scripture, whilst being relevant to the dynamic nature of our setting. The arena where we see the influence and effect of globalisation most clearly portrayed is in the cities of the world. The rapid urbanisation of our world will be the next topic in this series, looking at contemporary issues and mission. So please do look out for that on a future podcast episode. Now, for further information about Logos Ministries International and the global partnerships that we have forged for the sake of the gospel, please visit us online at www.lmi-org.net. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram using the handle LMI_connect. Or find us on Facebook by searching for Logos Min International. Well, thank you for listening, and do join us next time on the LMI podcast.